Logitech just announced their new Astro A50 Gen 5 headset at Logiplay. Go to logi.gg/Datto to learn more about it and to get a discount on Logitech stuff with code Datto10 at checkout. Hello everyone, welcome back to Lo-Fi Destiny Patch Notes to Relax/Study to, where today Bungie is talking about everything. I'm talking everything, brother. Everything. Everything. Coming with episode 2 Revenant. When it comes to the sandbox, it's going to be a long one, folks. So get some water, get something to eat, get something to drink. First up, we had the dev stream go over some light information. I put out a video of my adventures in Revenant, going over some of the exotics that are going to be coming out with Revenant, because I got to go play with them early. The live stream, I didn't make a video because it wasn't. You're going to see it next week, and I don't think there was enough there, and I also had the video, so there's some light information there. Light information. We have the artifact, which I outlined a lot of the perks coming in the artifact in the video that I uploaded yesterday. I mean, I very quickly kind of just like skimmed through them. It wasn't like a lot of build crafting type things or anything like that. But in case you missed it, there's a lot of stasis related things, stasis exotics, stasis artifact perks, titans in general, like stasis titans are getting some buffs as well. So I'm going to let you guys dig through this if you would like, but they've all been outlined in the previous video. So I'm not going to invest too much time here today going over this. So you can just kind of pause or just literally hit the link in the description, because I link it. I link all the patch notes and everything in every video. Okay. Exotic armor tuning for Revenant. Let's get to the meaty stuff here. Hunters, Lucky Pants. Lucky Pants have been kind of like a core part of super high level hunter loadouts, people soloing raid bosses. I mean, dungeon bosses is not that impressive, but it has been a popular way to take down a lot of high health targets, right? And it looks like a nerf is coming to them. Unfortunately, the high strength of Lucky Pants was causing constraints in terms of other PvE balancing. Again, like you combine it with Malfeasance, you combine it with Warden's Law, which is the 2-burst hand cannon. These things do incredible amounts of damage. So it looks like Bungie is doing something about it. Now provides movement bonuses, including increased slide distance and sprint speed when you have a hand cannon. Airborne effectiveness bonus is active whether a hand cannon is equipped, not just when illegally modded holster is active. No longer requires the hand cannon to be matched to the super damage type or kinetic to receive the PvE damage buff. That's kind of nice. Out of luck cooldown will only trigger if you reach 7 stacks of the PvE damage buff before swapping off the weapon or time expires. Maximum damage has been decreased from 600% to 450%. This is like, on paper, this does not seem as bad as I was really anticipating when I first kind of read through this. Like, I thought they were really gonna slap it hard, but it doesn't seem that bad. Like, it still seems very usable. So yeah, we'll do some math once the patch actually launches. Like, we'll get some anecdotal data on Lucky Pants, but this doesn't seem as brutal. You know, it's a chunk, but it doesn't seem as brutal as I was anticipating. Yas Queens, the energy is coming back to Young Ahamkara's spine and trip mine grenades. They removed it a while ago. Everyone was like, literally, why did you do this? At least in PvE. They're bringing back the energy in PvE. Thank F. They're bringing it back. Only 8% in PvP, but this is very good. A lot of people are going to be happy about that. Blight Ranger and Raiju's Harness are getting some manipulation here, which I found interesting. Blight Ranger, I've had a couple of friends using Blight Ranger to just like spam generate orbs of power for my team. Like, we've just kind of been messing around with it in some GMs. Never really thought it was like that big of a deal, but I guess it is, because primarily seen use for some niche tactics that leverage leverage its out-of-band orb of power generation. To make it more viable in the broader game without deviating from its fantasy, we replace that behavior with elements from Raiju's harness. Added the ability to cancel your Arc Staff super while equipped, damaging and blinding nearby enemies, granting a tier 4 damage bonus. Scales based on the number of projectiles reflected prior to canceling. No longer makes orbs of power. Reflecting projectiles now directly refunds super energy, extending the duration of your super. So they want to, if you want to do blocking stuff, that they want to enable you to do blocking stuff with this, but they just didn't want people spamming orbs of power all over the place. Not many people were even, I think, really doing this in the first place, and this setup kind of formats it more to kind of live up to the I'm going to block everything fantasy, even though I just don't really think blocking stuff is necessarily that important, but to each their own. So what does that mean for Raiju's harness? It's getting a complete rework, fully reworked its behavior. Activating Gathering Storm calls down lightning on all nearby targets, jolting them while also amplifying allies. Defeating arced, debuffed targets grants a small amount of Gathering Storm energy. Okay, that's kind of cool. You know, it's nothing too complicated. Actually makes Raiju's harness usable and interesting. I don't know if it's necessarily going to impact someone's desire to maybe use like Star Eaters or any sort of other damage boosting exotic for Gathering Storm, but I think this is like a nice middle ground where you're like, maybe you're running a GM or you're maybe running some like mid-tier content, so you don't want to fully invest in your super because your super's already going to do a ton of damage, so you use something like this instead to help with like some more ad clear and stuff like that. So okay, that's kind of neat. And then we have the exotic class item, Spirit of the Syntheseps. Oh boy. Reduce the melee damage bonus provided with, or when both bionic enhancements and stylish are active by 50%. Okay. So it just kind of looks like they're toning down a lot of the crazy melee damage bonus stacking that hunters can do. I mean, hunters are still going to do an absolute absurd amount of damage with the build anyway. But they're just toning this down a little bit. I mean, this is not going to affect any sort of like Liar's Caliban situation. It's only with Syntheseps. So if you're just running Liar's Caliban or something like that, you don't really have as much to worry about here. And even with the build that I outlined very recently, that does not use Stylish Executioner. It uses GPG. So even that build is going to be fine as well. Titans, let's move over to you, starting with Icefall Mantle. Right now, Icefall Mantle basically turns you into a brick that has an overshield on it, and that's it. And it's really not that exciting, right? The core fantasy is all about becoming an invulnerable icy tank. That's not really what happens. You get an overshield and then you walk slow. That's it. And overshields kind of suck. So they are completely recombobulating this thing to hopefully actually be more about this core fantasy of being an invulnerable icy tank. So first up, you gain a stack of frost armor for rapid stasis final blows. This, by the way, this requires a stasis super to be equipped to benefit from the exotic effects. So they are more all in on making this a stasis specific exotic. Each time you gain a stack of frost armor from any source, you will heal for a small amount. Okay, unique class ability granted by Icefall Mantle now provides maximum stacks of frost armor instead of the custom overshield. Remember, overshields is more of a void thing now. They're moving over to frost armor, which they just very recently added. You will also immediately heal for each stack that gets added. No longer prevents sprinting or jump abilities and works with thruster. Class ability now begins to recharge immediately after using the class ability, because before you used to have to wait for the overshield to be completely off of you before your class ability would start regenerating. And burst of stasis energy from the class ability now freezes combatants and slows players. So you have an AoE like explosion effect around you when maybe things are getting a little dicey or whatever. This is far more interesting than the version of Icefall Mantle that we have right now. The version of Icefall Mantle that we have right now is much more rooted in a previous time in the sandbox, a previous time in the game We're so much more juiced up now, so they needed to do a lot to make this way more interesting. I think they did. I'm interested in investigating this with, especially this season or this episode, with the artifact, with having all the stasis stuff that it has. And we also have a Cadmus Ridge lance cap, which is more like that's the diamond lanced one. Feel this exotic has a fun gameplay loop that was too restricted, relaxing some of the requirements. You no longer need a stasis weapon in order to actually use it. Now, any final blows or rapid precision hits behind a rally barricade with a stasis super equipped are going to make a diamond lance for you. Directly hitting any powerful combatant with a diamond lance now creates 3 stasis crystals. Previously, it was only bosses and vehicles that would be doing this. Nice little buff there. Nice little adjustment. I like diamond lances. I think diamond lances are really fun. I think they're really good as well, right? Like being able to AoE freeze entire groups of enemies and then just shattering them for big damage. I think it's good. I think it's good. So I like this relaxed requirement. Even if you were like still probably going to be trying to use stasis weapons, but like I'll take the lifted requirement. Ursa Furiosa and Spirit of the Bear Unbreakable. Remember, it is also getting a lot of adjustments in the next episode. I will link that video at the end of this one if you want to go check it out. Feel like these exotics could provide additional super energy for using it in PvE. However, the gains provided in PvP were leading players getting access to the super more quickly than we would like. I would not know. I honestly haven't touched PvP in I don't know how long. Increased maximum super energy gain for Unbreakable by 5%. Fixed an issue in PvP. Now provides a maximum of 10%. Okay, so nothing too crazy. Nothing too crazy. Curse of the Falling Star for Thunder Crash. Thunder Crash, IMO, one of the worst supers in the game at the moment. We'd like Curse to feel less required to make Thunder Crash viable, but to also improve it to be more valuable across the entire spectrum. Reducing Thunder Crash damage multiplier, but there is a buff coming to base Thunder Crash damage, so it'll balance it out, so it should be about the same. And adding the ability to help generate super energy. So, melee final blows while amplified now grant super energy. Okay. Reduce the damage bonus. Keeps the damage bonus the same with the buff that's coming. Replace the overshield after impact with damage resistance. So 50% PvE, 10% in PvP. I like the damage resistance. Again, I think overshields are just really, really meh. And even though they are getting a buff in episode 2, I think overshields are just still meh. So, okay, I like the extra super energy from melee final blows. You are able to do some interesting things, although I guess it's more like I'm thinking of Arc Titan, you're like probably using Skull Fort for like infinite punching, or you're using Point Contact Cannon Brace for like big punches every so often. So if you have to replace those both with Curse of Falling Star, you don't have the exact same synergy, but this is certainly better than nothing. I like this. I mean, they're just basically giving you the ability to get more super energy. I'm down for that. I don't know how much more I'm really going to use it. If the damage is kind of staying the same, we'll see. I still think I'd rather use like Point Contact and have my neutral game just be like punch this, punch this, punch this, and have all of my super energy gains from like my my hands-on armor mods, right? And get a bunch of energy that way. So we'll see. Peacekeepers, getting a very interesting PvE buff. Dealing damage to combatants with an SMG increases SMG damage for a short time, maximum of 20 stacks, 100% bonus damage, lasts a second. Each hit adds a stack and refreshes the timer. So this is just you keep shooting and you keep getting bonus damage. I mean, it obviously doesn't last a very long time, so it's designed. It feels like it's kind of designed on like a per magazine basis, but if you have a way of keeping your magazine high, maybe you're doing like subsistence, or do SMGs even get rewind rounds? I'm not even sure, but like subsistence, this could be interesting. And I saw some Huckleberry changes coming in as well, so maybe some Peacekeeper Huckleberry action coming with episode 2. We'll see. Mask of the Quiet One, probably one of the weakest exotics in the entire game. It might as well do absolutely nothing. Rapid final blows and final blows while at critical health will now grant Devour, but you need to have a Void super equipped. Devour is incredibly strong. Are we devoting entire exotic slots just to be able to get Devour? To be determined, but Devour is pretty strong. And I'm trying to think of like what else you have in the neutral game for like a Void Titan. Doomfang. Part of why I'm a little skeptical is just because if you're on a pure Void Titan, you're probably grabbing this fragment pretty much no matter what anyway. Like, if you're on Void, you get the Devour thing. Like, it's just what you do. So I don't know if I'm willing to fully invest for Devour when I'm on a pure Void Titan. We'll see. Stoicism, aka the exotic class items, they are basically making Thruster work with a bunch of stuff. So they're making work with Hoarfrost, spawning crystals, with Alpha Lupi healing you, and Horn leaves a ball of solar energy behind, exploding and applying Scorch to enemies caught in the blast. I think this is probably the most enticing one, but yeah, otherwise not a ton of crazy stuff. They're just making Thruster actually usable on some of these things. So, okay. Warlock. I made a joke about nobody using Baladors very recently, but it looks like they're buffing them. Adjusted the Hearts of Ice perk to increase the shatter damage of targets frozen by Shadebiter super projectiles by 100%, regardless of who breaks them out. Added granting Frost Armor to your allies with Frost Pulse or Winter's Wrath grants you super energy, ranges in potency based on how many allies it is granted to. Okay. Little interesting there, you know, and they're giving some stasis exotics some more love during the stasis episode. I get it. Still not really too sure, especially with the new exotic coming in, which is a buff to Bleak Watcher, which is like one of the, you know, stronger effects in the game right now. Still skeptical. We'll have to see if there's more like some kind of more niche type thing with it, or maybe some sort of build where you can just ramp up your super energy a lot. Although, like, if this ends up working out and maybe you want to do some sort of like Agar Scepter setup where you're just like trying to get maximum super energy as fast as possible to then use your Giga Beam on Agar Scepter, that could be something. Skull of Daira Hamkara. Give this thing an ornament, bro. I'm begging you, man. Give it an ornament. Added weapon defeats while Devour is active. Grants super energy ranging from 1 to 4.5% on the target type defeated. They want you to be cranking some Nova Bombs like crazy, and you're basically always going to have Devour on. So this is just like a direct, like, you're getting way more Nova Bombs, like a lot more. So, okay, I'm down. Sanguine Alchemy. So it feels like more of a PvP related thing. I mean, they literally mention it right off the rip. It has to do with target marking, the ability to mark targets. Now marks targets that you damage while standing in a rift. You deal 10% extra damage from any source against marked targets. Now provides Surge X4 to weapons that match your super damage. So currently, for those not up to date on their Sanguine Alchemy, I mean, who's not? But, you know, I'll review it for you anyway. While standing in a rift, gain a bonus to weapons with a damage type matching your equipped super. Weapon final blows while standing in any rift. Pause the rift's cooldown, extending its duration. So now they are letting you mark targets for a little bit of extra damage. The mark's going to fall off after 5 seconds compared to Knucklehead Radar's effect, which is 7 seconds of just kind of like, you know, you look at them. I feel like I'm more interested in this in like a PvE sense, because like this is just like you're basically going to be getting a flat 10% damage buff from using Sanguine Alchemy. I don't think I'm really too qualified to talk about it in PvP. Although I know that target marking has had its, you know, in the very far past, it's been problematic. I'm looking at you, One-Eyed Mask. Maybe not so much Knucklehead Radar. But again, I'm not in tune with the current state of PvP pretty much at all. There's a giant PvP section coming up, which I think they already talked about, unless these are new notes that I'm probably going to be skipping over. Talk to your local PvP expert for, you know, some insight on that. I'm not going to really be talking about it. I feel like I'm just more interested in this in PvE in general. Verity's Brow and Spirit of Verity, front-loading more of the bonus grenade damage to increase its potency, even if you aren't able to build to full stacks. The first stack is going to give you 40%, up from 20%. Each stack now provides plus 15%, up to a maximum of 100 at 5 stacks. So they're just making it so like it doesn't feel so worthless to throw it at like Death Throws X1 or X2, which is okay. You know, I didn't really think Bungie was even really looking at something like this right now, but like X1, X2, X3, X4, X5 is now a more buffed version of it where it was previously, right? So, okay, small little buff there. That's fine. I'm okay with that. Cenotaph Mask, yeah, they removed the target marking. I don't know why they removed the target marking in the first place. I feel like we never got a good reason as to why they removed it. They're bringing it back to mark the target again. I don't know why. I don't know why they removed the target marking. It made no sense. They brought it back. We're done. Osmiomancy Gloves reduced the increased seeker distance and speed by 50%, mainly for PvP reasons. Do I think this will have that much of an impact in PvE? Not really. Enemies are not like juking around and moving super fast in PvE. So this, I don't really think. Now, seeker distance, okay, maybe a slight PvE effect, but you can control your battles a lot better in PvE. As someone who has actually been using these somewhat frequently, I would be surprised if they did have a dramatic impact in PvE, but I basically use these gloves as a way to like just throw a grenade, hit a couple of targets really quick to freeze them, and then use it for shatter damage, and then just throw out another one. Right? I'm not trying to catch down like an unstoppable ogre that's running away from me or something like that. So Speaker Sight, this got a nerf a little into episode 1 because it was just, I think, generating like way too many orbs in PvP. So they just like shut that down. And so now every six instances of healing, a damaged ally in Crucible will spawn an Orb of Power. So they're bringing it back, but just like not as crazy as it was pre them shutting it down. Super Damage Exotic Tuning, new section. Taking a pass at balancing the potential damage output provided to one-shot super abilities by the exotic armor pieces that enhance them. Standardize damage across the various options while ensuring supers that are more challenging to use or require the players to put themselves in a disadvantaged position are more potent. So here's the list. This is unchanged. Curious is unchanged with Thunder Crash. You do need to quite literally put yourself in the most disadvantageous position, at least in endgame content, which is right next to an enemy. So if anything, they could probably even give it a little bit more. Pyrogale and Burning Maul actually getting a buff is a little surprising, but you do have to get kind of close if you want like that full impact of the Burning Maul. So, okay. A lot of Star Eater adjustments here. Star Eater and Needlestorm or Storm's Edge, both unchanged. Twilight Arsenal getting slapped, 26%. I mean, this do be doing a lot of damage. Nova Bomb not hit as hard, only 12%. And then Nighthawk and Golden Gun is getting a very small adjustment. Wow. Star Eater hitting Twilight Arsenal hard. I mean, Twilight Arsenal at like Feast of Light times 6, dude, you're hitting some very high damage swings. Did I think it was that problematic? Especially with like some of the, adjustments that Twilight Arsenal needs for like more accurate throws because it was just hitting the craziest targets. I don't know. 26% seems like a lot, but okay. We feel like this order reflects the advantages and disadvantages inherent in each super. With those that are quicker and easier to use, outputting less damage that are more risky. Okay. The range of damage is such that in Revenant, Celestial, Nighthawk, Golden Gun will still deal around 70% of the damage of a Curious Thunder Crash. I mean, it makes sense that like they want Nighthawk Golden Guns to do less damage than a Thunder Crash with Curious because this is way riskier and takes longer to do and puts you in a bad spot, right? So like I see the vision there. While the changes look scary, they're going to bring these supers close together in damage, allowing for more options to be competitive and viable in the most challenging content. Okay. All right. Okay. It's tough to look at on paper, but we'll see how it is in game. Pyrogale increased the Cyclone damage by 10%. That's kind of nice. I never feel like I ever really felt the effects of the Cyclones. So, okay. Give them a little juice. Star Eater, yeah, just hitting some stuff pretty hard. Nova Bomb reduced the benefit from 70 to 50%. Same for Thunder Crash. And then Twilight Arsenal just getting absolutely mauled by these adjustments. Now, Twilight Arsenal, I think, is getting a small buff from the actual axes themselves next episode. Like the actual axes, when you're using them, are going to do a little more damage. But man, oh man, it's getting hit hard. Next up, we got weapon tuning and new mods for Revenant. This is going over just like your legendary weapons, maybe exotics when applicable. And there are some adjustments here that, they're nerfs, but they make some amount of sense given the current sandbox. First, we're going to go to just like a bunch of primary weapons. Increased crit by 5 to 7% and decreased body damage by about the same amount depending on the frame. Rebalanced how PvE damage is dealt to slightly prioritize critical hits. I mean, I don't know who wasn't already trying to prioritize critical hits. We wanted to encourage more accurate gunplay in PvE without making content feel like a slog, made a small redistribution of damage dealt by targets. Slightly increasing crits, lowering body. Okay. I mean, dude, I'm already trying to get critical hits anyway. So I feel like this might end up just kind of being a wash in general, but we'll see. Next up, we got heavy burst rifles, incredibly strong in PvE, as we have seen over this past episode, but apparently not up to par in PvP. So overall, their DPS is going to go down by about 10% in PvE. I've been rocking my Nullify. I know it's been good. I didn't think they were that good. You know, that they got to get a 10% slap in PvE, but okay. Decreasing the damage by 18%, but they're increasing the RPM to kind of compensate. So this times this equals just a 10% damage nerf in PvE. Okay, I didn't realize they were that far out of scope. I mean, they felt kind of fine. So, okay. And they're also reducing Graviton Lance and Revision Zero heavy burst modes by 8%, so not quite the 10%. But I mean, Graviton Lance, I think is that thing's gonna be fine. I'm not too worried about Graviton Lance. But okay, I did not realize they were that out of scope. They didn't really feel that out of scope when I've been using my Nullify for the past few weeks here. So sniper rifles have felt out of place in PvE content for quite some time. How many times? How many times am I going to have to see a sentence that's basically just snipers in PvE not good? How many times, man? Sniper rifles, increased damage against minors 60%, majors 75%, champions 25%, mini bosses 35%. Bungie is just fine. Have a bunch of buffs, man. Okay, this is probably the most enticing one. You might actually be able to really maybe even one-shot some majors now going forward. I have a very little amount of experience using Critical Anomaly. I used it a bit in Liminality GM, and it's still left a bit to be desired. So, okay, they're hopefully finally giving these snipers some freaking juice, man, to be able to be valuable in PvE. We want a no defined role if they're not top tier DPS. We want to change that, further reward using snipers against more than just bosses. Greatly increase their non-boss damage. Greatly reduce their flinch against combatants. Yeah, reduce flinch against combatants by 50%, and reduce camera roll against players by 10%. Good. Finally, maybe now. You keep putting out these good fusion rifles, man. I'm out here using scatter signal. I'm out here using Aramite still. Give me a good reason to use snipers. Let's see here, man. I'll take a sniper into a GM. Glaives are getting a more substantial overhaul in episode Heresy, which is episode 3. Wanted to correct a long lingering issue where previews of the magazine size could be incorrect depending on your okay, fine. So they're fixing a problem with magazine size showing the wrong number. All right. Shotguns struggle to find their identity in PvE in a world where fusions and rocket sidearms are strong and less risky to use. Greatly increasing their range in PvE only, increased their minimum damage fall off from 0 to 40% versus AI only against PvE. I still probably want to use a rocket. If I'm only dealing 40% damage with a shotgun from a certain range, I shouldn't be using the shotgun in the first place. I should be using something else. I don't want my special ammo to only be worth 40% of a shot. Now, again, don't get me wrong. I'll take it, right? At least you're able to do something from a pretty far distance. But with the way rocket sidearms right now, some fusion rifles are right now, I don't know if that's going to be enough, right? It's more, I feel like if I am in range with a shotgun, if I'm able to do my maximum damage, it's gotta feel more valuable than using a fusion or a rocket sidearm at their respective effective ranges, which rocket sidearm is basically infinity, and fusions is, where I would be dealing 40% damage with a shotgun is probably where I will be dealing 100% damage with a fusion rifle. So you just gotta really make me getting up close worth it. And maybe with some of the stasis stuff, maybe an Icefall Mantle situation with all the buffs that it's getting and all this frost armor, maybe I'm going to want to use a shotgun a little bit more. We'll see. I'm still a little skeptical just thinking about how the game is right now. Rocket-assisted sidearms. Kings of the Mountain in PvE, because, I mean, they get a good amount of ammo, and they hit really hard, and they're reliable. They're reducing reserve ammo by 25%, so you can't just literally only use a rocket sidearm. I figured a rocket sidearm nerf was coming, but I wasn't really sure how they were going to do it, because I think their damage is, like, fine. I guess it was mainly their uptime that was kind of the problem, is that you could just use these things for a really long time unless you build it specifically into special ammo, which is like not that difficult. Especially, I mean, we got the new GL coming out. The episode GL coming out literally just cranks out special ammo for you. It takes a little while, but it cranks out special ammo for you. I saw something coming, just didn't know exactly what they were going to do. Trace rifles, they're giving them a little more ammo in PvP. Adaptive machine guns, strongest in Crucible and PvE. High impacts have some room to grow. They're giving them the slightest bit of crit damage. I mean, I've been using my fixed odds for a while, but I'm not necessarily using it for the crit damage. I'm using it because it's basically a scout rifle with heavy ammo in it, and I'm using it for incandescent and stuff like that. So, but hey, I'm not going to say no to some free buffs, right? Because, I mean, outside of fixed odds, I mean, what other machine guns are people really using? Yeah, the only other high impact machine guns that I have are a very old 7th Seraph Saw, which I need to delete immediately. I have a Quillam's Terminus, and then I have Deterministic Chaos, which like I think still nobody is using because the magazine size is basically nothing. So, okay. You could argue you could probably even give them a little bit more. Heavy ammo GLs have turned into something of a fire in the general direction and get kills weapon that also benefits from having a substantial amount of ammo in both sandboxes. We want to make them a weapon where you actually have to be a little bit accurate. So I think they are removing some of the detonation damage and putting it on the impact damage. So your detonation damage is going down by 5%, but your projectile impact damage is going up. So they just want you to be a little more accurate is all they're saying. Like if you want to shoot a GL at something, cool, just make sure you're actually hitting it and not just like spamming it like kind of nearby. That's really what they're doing. They're also increasing rapid fire frame impact and detonation damage by 7% because people are not really using the rapid frames. PvP weapon micro tuning. So I'm going to be skipping over this because a lot of these numbers to most of you watching, I imagine, are going to feel very meaningless, even if to some of the more PvP oriented players, they can be kind of significant because these very small adjustments can have big impacts based on like what your stats are or like the time to kill ratio, right? Like you see base damage go from 44.7 to 44.5, crit damage go from 80.3 to 80.1. It's like the smallest adjustment that only the top of the top are even going to ever be able to feel at all. So for those people who are a bit more invested, like go nuts with reading this, like critical hit damage reduced by 0.25, reduces forgiveness against high resilience targets, tiers, reduces body shot time to kill by like how much? Fractions of a second. Most things that most people are not really going to be able to feel unless you're playing, I feel like at the very, very top end. Like some of these bigger changes that come in where it's like you go from 3 crits to 2 crits, 1 body shot, something like that. Those are a little more impactful. I'm kind of maybe looking at something like this where precision hand cannons base damage going from 40 to 45. That's pretty significant. I just don't have the math on hand right now. Though these are things that people are going to be able to feel a bit more, but like a lot of these smaller things, like I don't think the average person is going to be able to really recognize any of these adjustments really that much. Exotic weapons. Choir of One shipped a little bit hot in PvE in terms of how much ammo it can carry in reserves, how much damage it was dealing at point blank range. Choir of One, if you check my review, it's pretty good. It is a pretty good weapon. They said the reserves situation was more of like, they said that was more of a bug, not necessarily like that's how it was supposed to ship. So base reserves going from 250 to 200, max reserves from 384 to 300. This feels a little more justified. 384 is a wild amount of damage. Increased hip fire projectile damage against players by 10%. because it was kind of hard to hit in the Crucible. Reduced impact damage on the point blank projectile by 50%. I imagine it's still going to be like good, but maybe no longer good enough that people are going to justify using it. We will see. You know, I still think it's good as like a regular auto rifle type weapon. Like if you're not like burning through all your ammo as fast as possible, like just as an auto rifle, a special ammo auto rifle anyway. Like, yeah, it's only the impact damage because they explode on impact. So we'll see how much of an adjustment this actually was. It's still probably going to be usable, just maybe not as crazy. Huckleberry now fully reloads on kills. Replaced Catalyst with kinetic tremors. So the Catalyst used to, I think, fully reload the weapon. Now it's getting kinetic tremors. I mean, dude, Huckleberry way back when, bro, if you weren't playing during the Huckleberry times, like this thing is still like pretty beastly. Like it has old Rampage. So like the damage bonus that it gets is like this thing still goes crazy, man. Kinetic tremors, we'll see. Like, I don't even know if you're ever going to even proc kinetic tremors because if you're just mowing through enemies, like things are going to die really fast. But like, don't sleep on Huckleberry, man. This thing's still, it's like, it's always been kind of good. Taraba, when Ravenous Beast is active, gain damage resistance against incoming solar damage, 50% versus combatants, 15% versus players. Took a note from Risk Runner to try to help solve that. So they're trying to make Taraba more of like a solar Risk Runner, which I'm into. I like Taraba as well. I just, you know, I don't really bust it out that often. But now in more solar heavy activities, maybe you bust it out now. We'll see. Maybe you're a Peacekeeper Titan now as well. You're busting out the Taraba to just mow down, dude. Ravenous Beast plus Peacekeepers. Don't say I didn't warn you. Symmetry mentioned. Now gains a stack of dynamic charge on kills in addition to precision hits. Oh. Okay. Symmetry is my favorite exotic that I don't use. I would love to use this thing more. This is it's a small thing. Like, I mean, I don't know. Me, I always want revolution rounds to be like their maximum stacks, which I believe is 20. It just takes so long to get to 20. So stack it, like I would have preferred like 2 stacks on kills and then maybe like 1 stack on an assist or something like that. Maybe that might have been too much. I don't know. I don't think this will be enough. I don't think it'll be enough. Give me 2. How about 2 stacks? Can you do 2 stacks on a kill? Duality on Black Wings stacks for max effect reduced from 5 to 3. Extended duration of the buff from 7 to 10 seconds. They're trying to make it more viable for PvE. It's very popular in PvP, or at least it was, because it could be a slug shotgun or just a regular shotgun. But I cannot recall the last time I saw this thing used in PvE at all. Let's get an exact description for everybody, because I know, again, I know everybody knows, but let's just say there's some new players out there who might not know. Pellet Final Blows grant a stacking precision, damage, and reload speed buff. Precision hits with the slugs extend the duration, so they're just making it so you only need 3 instead of 5, which I'm down for. I'm down. Bad Juju. Give this thing some respect, man. Has a hard time getting his kill streak going in PvE, especially in higher end content. Made some changes to make it a bit easier. Increased lifetime of String of Curses from 3.5 to 5.5 base, 7.5 with the Catalyst. Increased magazine size from 27 to 36. This weapon also appears to become more haunted than it used to be. Maybe a visual update on it, or maybe it's getting some sort of an ornament, something like that. Dude, like Bad Juju is like, it's just like another one of, it's like a symmetry where it's like, it's not bad, but it's just like, it's not up there, man. Like it's not, and like Bad Juju used to be like, I'm talking years and years and years ago, like D1 kind of status. This thing used to crank out some supers, man. Maybe also when it first came out, it was like kind of okay. But it is just fallen behind. It's just fallen behind. So we'll see how much this actually does to juice this up. I wouldn't mind bringing back Bad Juju. It's got like a nice bounce to it, you know, nice rhythmic bounce shooting pattern to it. So, okay. Exdirus. This is the Hive Knight grenade launcher that came out in Season of the Witch. which is this has basically been like a fun novelty that you use with the moth hunter gloves, and that's it. And you're just like, look at me, I'm the Hive Knight now. Let me shoot my gun. Boom, boom, boom. And other than that, nothing doing. So what are they doing? Increased direct hit damage versus combats by 33%. Love that. Adjusted recoil and projectile to have a much flatter trajectory by doing the following. Reduced camera recoil by 50%. Increased projectile velocity. Reduced projectile gravity. Plus 5 ammos in reserves. Now spawns a moth on 2 direct hits. Reduced moth cooldown from 4 to 3 seconds shared with the kill trigger. So more damage, easier to hit the shots, more ammo, more moths. I'm down. I'm still not really too sure how much people are going to be using this, but I guess we'll find out. To me, it still feels like a novelty weapon that you're just kind of like using for fun. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but like if they want to make it worth using in higher end activities, then this is a good start. Fighting Lion now spawns a volatile burst on direct hits. So any sort of volatile related effects, this is going to be nice for you. Some Void users. Fighting Lion still has a dedicated fan base, overshadowed by more recent additions to the sandbox. Okay. I mean, they probably also took a look at it now that we're getting our second primary ammo using grenade launcher in Lethanim. That's the name of it. Couldn't remember it for a sec. Prospector. The only time I've seen Prospector used in like the past 5 years is when my buddy Angel uses it to plant a flag like 900 feet in the air and blow up his body at the same time. That's all that this thing has been good for. It's comedy. Exotic perk has been something largely impractical to most activities. Let me get you the exact definition. Hold to fire your grenades. So you shoot out like a whole bunch of them, and then you let go of the trigger and they all explode. It also has full auto trigger system. If that's not like a telltale sign of how old something is, I don't know what is. It has full auto trigger system on it. It shoots fast. Now spawns 3 powerful cluster bombs on detonation, dealing substantially more damage per shot over a much larger area than previously. Remove sticky grenade, flame grenade, remote detonation function. Mag size reduced to 6. Bonus ammo reserves on the catalyst changed to plus 50 reload speed. Okay. So they're turning it into something different, a little bit different. So until we actually get to play with it, I'm probably not going to comment too much on it. But almost anything is better than what it is right now, which is basically just like making it so your rally flag is like 400 feet in the air, and you annoy all your friends. That's what it's good for right now. Chaperone, another shotgun, big history in PvP. I mean, it's had quite a lot of moments where it's been very, very good. Not sure of the state of it right now, but they're trying to make it kind of a PvE thing. Hey, Jez, maybe you can finally actually do some DPS now with Chaperone. Added the ability to trigger Roadboard on 2 rapid precision hits. Precision hits with Roadborne active also extended by 3 seconds. Plus 20 stability, 25% reload speed with Roadborne active. Increased base ammo reserves. Okay. Roadborne is where precision hits briefly grant bonus handling, range, and precision damage with the weapon. So they're changing it to hits now instead of kills, which means you can actually use it on a target that has some amount of health and be able to trigger Roadborne instead of needing to go like hunt down a couple of enemies and then trigger Roadborne, and then go back over to the strong enemy. You can just shoot the strong enemy in the head and get your bonus active that way. Great. Good update. Lumina updated hip fire projectiles to behave more closely to support auto healing shots. It's been overshadowed a bit by support autos. I use the support auto in the contest mode raid, and in those situations, like, I like support autos. I just don't really feel like they're that necessary in like most other parts of the game. So I had no idea it had been overshadowed, because I feel like every time I see some like speedrun strats coming in or something like that, everyone's like busting out a Luma to just spam a bunch of shots on everybody in the team to give them the bonus damage as well. So, okay. I mean, again, Lumina is like not like the most popular weapon outside of those kind of situations. Maybe you're playing more of like a support role type thing. So if you are, you got a little buff on Lumina. No one's going to complain about a Lumina buff. Next, we got some weapon perks to go over. Slice now works correctly in the Crucible. Slideways can now be refreshed if you slide again following the completion of the initial slide. Alloy Mag now increases reload speed when the magazine is near empty, as opposed to needing it to be, I believe, completely empty. Auto-loading and reconstruction are getting a nerf, though. Increase the time to reload by 1 second for both base and enhanced. Reconstruction, increase time to start reloading by 2 seconds for both base and enhanced. So Bungie has been introducing some auto-reloading effects that require you to actually be doing something. And I think there's actually a new perk coming in episode 2 that also is like, oh, if you cycle through all your weapons, you automatically reload your weapon. So now that they're introducing these more active auto reloading perks, they're taking the more passive ones and they're making it like, not as valuable compared to the more active ones. If you want to be active with your reloads, doing your damage rotations on a raid boss or something like that, you might start leaning towards those more active ones. Whereas these are for, just kind of like you're going through a GM, you're going through a strike, you're going through some kind of other activity where the urgency for those reloads just isn't as there. Like, am I going to continue to use auto-loading holster and reconstruction in like your average activity? Yes, I am, because ultimately they are just very convenient perks to have, right? But for the more specific setups, Bungie wants you to maybe use some other things that require you to have a bit more knowledge and timing on your switching of weapons and rotations and all that kind of stuff, which I'm okay with that. Master of Arms. When this thing came back on Recluse, back in Into the Light, it was like, why am I using this over Frenzy, bro? Frenzy is also 15% and gets me some other stuff. So now it can stack up to 2. 1x is 15% damage. 2x is 25% damage for 4 seconds and then drops back to 1 when the timer expires. I will take it because Master of Arms, as it was, basically worthless. Dawning Origin, remove the time limit between kills, now requires kills in a life instead of rapid succession. And then Iron Reach, Gaze, and Grip reduce the downside penalties from -30 to -20 and -25 to -15 for the enhanced. So those are those perks that give you a big benefit in something else, but reduce your effectiveness in a different stat. Weapon mods. They are adding some weapon mods. A good amount of them. Up until pretty recently, the weapon mod system was basically just like you equip the damage perks and that's it. And it's like, why would you pick anything else other than the damage things? And then Bungie's like, okay, fine. We're just going to integrate that into like a lot of the weapons or whatever they did. We're getting rid of the damage things so that you actually have a decision that you can make about what perk you're going to put or what mod you're going to put in your weapon. And most people have gone with like backup mag to get more ammo because that kind of directly leads to more damage. But now they are putting in a lot more stuff. Combo stat mods, bundles 2 different stats like range stability, reload handling, blast radius, projectile speed, draw time accuracy, charge rate, guard resistance. I feel like this is just going to be like an auto pick on bows, but we'll see. Anti-flinch, 15% flinch reduction. Ammo finder enhancement, special finder enhancement, and heavy finder enhancement, roughly progressing 10% faster per kill with the weapon. Interesting. Optics mod allows for customization of weapon zoom. I feel like it's been forever since we've had something like this in the game because you used to be able to pick different scopes on your weapons, and now they got rid of that. Maybe it's coming back now. We'll see. I know there's like a lot of decoupling of like weapon zoom versus the range stat because your zoom used to affect your range or your range used to affect your zoom, and they finally broke those apart. So now they like can act independently. So we got +2 zoom, -2 zoom on your marksman stuff, +1 zoom, -1 zoom on the close quarter stuff. So I'm interested to see how that like changes the landscape, if it does, like at all. Mainly I feel like more on the PvP side of things, but even some PvE stuff, like, if snipers are getting the significant buffs that they are getting, and if they are as significant as we think, maybe you want to go a little bit higher zoom to be sniping from pretty far away, or maybe you want to go even lower zoom depending on what kind of experience you're looking for. So this is pretty interesting because it's been a while. It's been a while since we've had some zoom options. Synergy, escalating chance to spawn a subclass bauble matching this weapon's damage type. Kinetic weapons spawn an orb of power instead. Okay. Stun loader partially refills this weapon's magazine on stunning a champion. Okay. This is some pretty interesting stuff here. This is nice. This is a nice little update to weapon mods. I wasn't expecting to see any kind of weapon mod anything really. I mean, they just been kind of it's just like one of those things in the game that's just kind of like, it's not really a problem, but like people aren't super passionate about it. So like it's just going to stay in some kind of a state until like whenever the hell. So this is kind of nice. I like this. This is cool. Thoughts on the future with Revenant in the bag. We're looking forward to episode Heresy and beyond. We have some great changes upcoming, including significant updates to Glaives, a particularly underutilized heavy ammo sniper, and even aggressive frame fusion rifles. Further down the line, we have big plans for wide changes to the overall ammo economy, introducing more determinism and build crafting options. Okay, next up we have what appears to be a list of all of the episodic weapons coming with Revenant. I mean, do they even call them seasonal weapons? Come on. All of the weapons coming with Revenant and all of their perks. I held off on doing any sort of like legendary weapon perk breakdown thing in the video that I posted yesterday because every new episode and every new season, I just drop a here's all the god rolls type video. So I was just waiting for the episode to actually come out so that I had slightly better footage. But they are all here. We do have some new perks coming in as well, but I think there have been people who have already put out videos going over those perks. So I don't know how redacted these are really going to be in a little bit. I'm sure you can find these perks somewhere already. But yeah, I'm going to have a full list of all the god rolls of all the different weapons that come out with the episode very shortly after the episode launches. So don't worry too much about trying to, ingest all of this information all at once. I will say Dark Ether Harvest as the origin trait, when I got to use it in my little preview, it's pretty good. It is a pretty good origin trait, at least as far as origin traits go. It has to do with like ammo restoration into your gun by like picking up this little blob of dark ether. At least that's what it was in the build that I was doing. So maybe it got changed. I'm not sure, but it is a good origin trait. So, we'll be looking into some of these weapons to see if anything is going to be worth your time. Although I'm seeing like, okay, sidearm, adaptive sniper. Okay. Scout rifle. All right. Arc adaptive pulse rifle. Okay. I did like using this hand cannon, the stasis hand cannon, and then we got a grenade launcher, and then the stasis double fire grenade launcher. That one will be interesting to see how people enjoy that one. Next, we have an update on seasonal weapon crafting. So in that reveal, in that Revenant preview stream that Bungie did, Bungie mentioned some stuff about weapon crafting, and I'm just going to read this verbatim, and then I'll give a quick take. In our rewards article, we briefly discussed the future of weapon crafting. While those changes are months away and we're not ready to share them in detail just yet, we can comment on the new direction we are moving with Revenant. As we looked back at Into the Light, we believe that part of its success was the chase for brave arsenal weapons, with the attunement system helping to focus that pursuit. We want to move more towards that experience, so starting in Revenant, the seasonal weapons will not be craftable. Perks can still be enhanced using extra materials, and there will be updates to unlock as you play the episode to target specific weapons and even get extra perks per columns. We believe the activities and episodes work better when built around the gear chase, rewarding you with more than other activities and unlocking improvements like vendor focusing to help you get your desired rolls, or even the option to get more perks in a given column. Crafting will remain a way for players to get that roll that they desired. It's not going away, as you'll see below, because we have reprised Garden of Salvation weapons. But for some time, the value of individual weapon drops in that god roll pursuit has been replaced, if not nullified, by whether or not they dropped with the deep sight activated. We hope this change will revitalize the passion to hunt down new weapons. I said it in my episode 1 video. This is probably the least that I've engaged myself with any sort of seasonal / episode content, because the weapons weren't really anything remotely special except for the rocket sidearm. And I could unlock the rocket sidearm by just waiting around, doing absolutely nothing, and just getting the pattern that way if I really wanted to. And I can get the rest of the weapons by just coming back to the vendor once a week, picking up the red border, and then saying, see you later. So I know the majority of people don't want crafting to take a back seat. I know, trust me, I've seen the feedback. I know I'm on the other side of things where I'm like, oh boy, actually engaging with the content to get weapons and stuff. I know that I'm not seeing eye to eye with people, and that's fine. When I think about Into the Light, I made a tweet. It's one of my most favorited tweets of all time, where I was like, wow, Into the Light is the first time that I've actually cared about grinding weapons and playing stuff in years, literal years. So for me, I'm okay. I'm okay with the fact that I can actually go back to actually interacting with the content again. I know the dads out there with the 9 kids and the 17 soccer practices, You're not going to be able to maybe get every single thing. And look, and I'm kind of with you on like the storage situation, the vault space situation, even though, again, I think a lot of people are just hoarding a bunch of garbage in their vault. I get it. Like, it is a good way to solve some of the vault issues, right? Where you can have the weapon, but also not have the weapon. Like, you can make it whenever you want, but you don't need to hold the copy onto it all the time. That I totally respect, understand that. And it's something that affects me as well, right? Because I got a pretty full vault as well. I am interested to see how quickly people can get the god rolls that they're looking for, as long as you're actually playing the game and participating in the game. How quickly can people get some of these things? Even getting the multiple perk options, so you have weapons where you don't maybe need to craft like 2 or 3 different versions. You just happen to get all the perks that you want all in the same weapon, and you can swap them around however you want. I know I'm not seeing eye to eye with people on weapon crafting, but for me, weapon crafting at this point in the game, it's just led, I feel like, to more of like the checklist mentality that has been kind of infecting the game over the past couple of years. Maybe not since it was introduced, but like I would say over the past year or so, it's just kind of led to like a checklist mentality that for me, just like I literally check out. I completely check out of the experience when it's just like, oh, is it a red border? No, delete, don't care, right? Like half my loot experience is just like, does it have a red border around it? Because if it doesn't, I literally don't care. And then again, armor, literally don't care about that at all. So like 99% of my loot chase is just like hunting red borders, and that's it. And it's kind of boring. Next up, we got reprised Garden of Salvation weapons. A lot of people, self-included, thought that this was going to be coming either this episode or next episode, at the very least sometime this year, because it's the last batch of weapons from like an old piece of content that needed to be updated. And Garden of Salvation weapons, like, look, I know the pulse rifle was like good, and the hand cannon was like not that bad, and it's like it's been a while since we had like a void rapid auto rifle, at least for a while. So yeah, I know there's some things in there, but these weapons, more or less, like, yeah, sure, it was a void rapid auto rifle, but did you see the perks on them? Like, they were not that good. So they're giving us a preview of some stuff that you're going to be able to pull. I'm seeing a lot of destabilizing rounds. Demolitionist, kinetic tremors on the pulse, threat remover, volt shot on the shotgun, 4th times charm precision instrument on the sniper. So they're bringing it into modern times. So hope you're ready to play some Fortnite with Sanctified Mind. Still one of my favorite bosses. Just remember, go slow on the tethers. Okay, the tether mechanic works. You're just trying to do it too quick. Give it a sec to hit the different targets. Okay, it works fine. Just give it a second. Then we got even more stuff. Preview of weapons for Trials of Osiris. There's your Trials weapons. I'll let you guys read over those. Pause the screen if you want to. Bygones coming back to Gambit. New Iron Banner armor and weapons as well. These are new Iron Banner sets, I think. It looks like. I don't recall seeing this Titan set before, so therefore I assume these other two are new. Dude, the Warlock one looks kind of sick. I like the Titan arms, though. I like those arms. Helm, I'm not too crazy about. Like, the rest of the set looks pretty nice. We have, we have a Stasis Rocket sidearm coming in Tanasha's Mastery. What do we look? I'm just going to, like, a quick look here. I mean, Enlightened Action, okay. Impulse and Fire, okay. Why did they bold Loose Change? Who's excited about Loose Change? Bait and Switch, Chill Clip, yeah, okay. It's got some good Column 4 stuff. Column 3, I'm like, I'll probably get Enlightened Action or something like that. And then Stasis High Impact Machine Gun. Why do we need a Stasis High Impact? Go get Quillums. But okay, fine. And then fixing some weapon ornaments. Like, some weapon ornaments were not working properly because of, like, they used to design weapons with a certain geometry in the past where they used like 7 different regions, and now they only use 4 regions. So if they make anything nowadays for old stuff, it doesn't really like go onto the weapon properly. So like, here's Cold Heart, for example. Like, it looks like this currently before the fix, and then it looks like this after the fix. So like, you can see, like, the main thing that I saw was like this little section down here, this little panel. Like, it's actually working properly now. So it looks a lot nicer. They're fixing some older ornaments. Inverted Spire is getting an update. They are reformulating it kind of like they did with Lake of Shadows and Arms Dealer. I thought Arms Dealer rework was fine. I thought Lake of Shadows was okay, but I think they still need to reduce they need to reduce the health of the eyeball boss like halfway through the strike. I still think it has way too much health, at least on GM. And it's this is going to be a lot more Vex themed. So people who are getting mad about the seasonal challenges not having any like Vex targets for the kill Vex targets and strikes thing, hopefully this will be a remedy to that situation. Discord quest. If you're on Discord, play D2 starting October 8th. You'll get a shader. So check that out. They got hurricane support, the hurricane that slapped the hell out of the Southeast. Like I think like North Carolina in particular was hit pretty hard. There are some links here as well if you would like to help donate to the recovery efforts. And I think that is about it. Good Lord, that was a lot of stuff. Oh man, so that's everything. That is everything coming with Revenant. They decided to dump it all into one giant twid. Feeling good about Icefall Mantle. Looking forward to some Taraba with Peacekeepers, maybe some SMGs with Peacekeepers. I think that's gonna maybe take some people by surprise. Maybe SMGs back on the menu for some Titans anyway. I didn't recall seeing too many dramatic SMG changes. I think that was just kind of like we're increasing headshot damage, decreasing body shot damage situation. Although that might kind of actually hurt SMGs because SMGs are inherently more difficult to get crits on because of their rate of fire and just like what they are. So maybe that's actually not that great for SMGs. I don't know. But Peacekeepers I'm interested in trying. That's about it. That is everything. I say that's about it as if I haven't been talking for the past 77 minutes by now. I'll chop it down. I'm going to let you guys go because this was really long, and you can get back to your life now. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time.